Greetings to the Gambian people and greetings to the African people. Today marks another fresh edition of the program, The Conversation, that comes away on Senbian's VIP magazine, VIP TV in the Republic of the Gambia. And for today's edition, I am in close conversation with a UTG presidential candidate in person of Kemo Fati, alongside his Secretary General, Mr. Toney F. Mendy. But before I proceed with this afternoon interview, I want to use that opportunity to greet those who support us from East Africa. That's Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, and other East African nations. I say jumbo, habari yako, kumfutanya yezangu. I say heshima kwa Africa. Asante kwa masada. When you quit to see to those in the Freetown, Sierra Leone, that made the Mendy speaking people that say buwa kauye na kaigo. And of course, to the Aku speaking people who say unakushe to those in Yoruba land in Western Nigeria, which comprises Ikiti State, Ondo State, Kwara State, we say to you, Baonisha, or to Jumenta, Baolomo. To those in Eastern Nigeria, we say to you, one of the number Michukwa Biama, Amama Masi, Oshimidia Tata, Ekueme. To the Gambian people, to the Fulas who say Hidejan, Masudet, Nalaga, to the Mandinga, say Abeyandi, Sokonokolo, Lokobenyandi, Famuket. To those who are Wallabuse Nangadef, Naka Gonsi. This is a conversation that comes up with Senbian's VIP magazine, VIP TV. Welcome to this platform, Jan.
Thank you so much, Mr. As you rightly said, I am Kemo Fati, the former Auditor General and of course the former President of the 13th and the 14th Executive Council of the Social Sciences and Humanity Student Association, currently in his position vying for position of presidency in the upcoming University of the Gambia Student Union elections under the placard of Team Solutions as the flag bearer.
That's beautiful. Mr. Mendy, can we hear something from you?
Yes, thank you for having me. Toney F. Mendy, a third-year law student, Chair Clerk at the National Assembly of the Gambia, the Secretary General of the University of the Gambia Debate Association, and former teacher, government and history teacher. Thank you for having us.
That's beautiful. You heard the voices of the two young men who have had a zest to winning the presidency of this noble institution. And they are in conversation with me here. Toney, Mikel, Howard tasked with the responsibility of inspiring and motivating the current generation of young Africans in the actualization of their respective dreams and preaching the message of peace and national unity, as well as revitalizing the Africanization policy that speaks about good governance, social justice, democracy, human rights, and most importantly, the African unity. Why the Student Council leadership? Why do you think you are capable enough to win in these forthcoming elections?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Michael. I believe that was indeed a very beautiful question. Well, I will tell you that my experience in student leadership has always been a work in progress for me.
Okay.
I have been a student leader since my junior school. Grade 9, I contested for head boy.
Okay.
I won.
Okay.
Newsford Senior Secondary School too, where I became the first student in my school who have a seat in Newsford Senior Secondary School.
Okay.
I was part of one of the most vibrant club there called Government and History Club.
Okay.
And from Newsford, I proceeded to University of the Gambia, where I contested for the position of Auditor General, and I went on a post.
Okay.
And from Auditor General, I moved on to presidency. I am currently the pioneer of Team Solutions November 2018 election with a landslide victory in the Department of Social Sciences and Humanity Student Association. Now, the current Executive Council of the same association also vied on the placard of my ticket, that is Team Solutions. They also maintain a landslide victory. So you can see inspiration lie in that leadership. So now we're moving on to University of the Gambia Student Union, knowing fully well that UTG still have more problems than before.
Okay.
But we are very, very optimistic that with the young leaders, with the young people that we have in our midst, we can definitely change the narrative at the university level. This is what triggered my intention to move on at the university level too, so that we can definitely change the narrative.
Okay, that's the voice of the presidential candidate, Mr. Kemo Fati. I turn to you, Mr. Secretary General of your political party that is striving to win in these forthcoming elections. What are the practical evidence or tangible evidence that you think your party has that is enough to merit the consideration of the voters to give you their vote to serve as what? Leaders of the noble institution?
Yes, primarily I would say to make a rectification, we are not a party.
Okay.
We are a movement.
Okay.
And when it comes to student unionism, I think the best structure that we need, that our people need, is to have a movement and that advocates basically for the rights and interests of the students.
Okay.
We have a great chance of winning, considering that the messages that we are sending across to students is quite different from what our opponent are spreading to students.
Okay.
Instead of telling the student what policies or what plans they have, in my own view, they concentrate on selling themselves.
Okay.
That have been here, they concentrate more or less selling their biographies, what they have done in the past and so forth.
Okay.
And that the students of the Gambia, University of the Gambia, have for a long time been frustrated hearing this. That people just come out from nowhere, sell them their beautiful biographies. At the end of the day, they don't really do the work that is expected of them. But to us, what we want to do is to reignite the spirit of unionism in the University of the Gambia.
Okay.
That over the years it's been dormant. The student union is more or less toothless. Right, they don't really have an impact when it comes to addressing the issues in the University of the Gambia. Okay. That is why our plight, our problem as university students is more or less persistent. And now we are telling the student, now is the time for us to change the narrative. Now is the time for us to make sure that we start the change that we want for the Gambia within the university first.
Okay, that's a beautiful, that's the voice of Mr. Mendy, Toney F. I take it outside of the UTG and then carry it outside a little bit continentally. The late president of Tanzania and in person of Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, before he died, this is a popular question that I pose to most of my interviews. Before he died on his sick bed, he gave one of the shortest speeches. He told the people of Tanzania, he says, Jombo, Jombo, habari yako kumfutanyayo zangu, kumfutanyayo zangu. That is greetings to the people of Tanzania. Follow my footsteps. Follow my footsteps. And when he says follow my footsteps, he talks about the footsteps of the Tanzanialization policy, a policy that unites all Tanzania irrespective of height, color, financial, or social background. The Tanzanialization policy, the policy that is a result of all humanity. What practical evidence do you have as a political institution that you think would be put into place to unite the students of the UTG, not forgetting the teaching staff as well?
Well, thank you so much for that beautiful question. If you talk about union, you're talking about unionism.
Okay.
Do we have unionism at our heart as young people of this country? Are we united as the university students? These are some of the questions that is expected of us when we talk about union.
Yeah.
This is why we say University of the Gambia Student Union.
Okay.
But of course, we must love ourselves. We must love what we do. And we must offer our support to the community. And to the Gambia at large. Okay. This is what is expected of us. Okay. So this is why I always tell students that my leadership should emerge, should serve as an IOC of justice and academic liberty.
Okay.
A student leadership that will be there to represent the interests of the students. A student leadership that will be there to represent the power of the students. Because we believe power doesn't belong to us as executive, but the power belongs to the students. And that power must be well represented. Their interests must be served. That way we'll be united. That way we can call ourselves union.
Okay.
Because we should have that social cohesion amongst ourselves as students.
Okay.
We should understand our problems. As one of our great philosophers will always say, that life is not the burden of any man or woman alone. Okay. But definitely some are called to meet a special set. Therefore, it is a duty that we all discharge with a dignity, determination, and distinction that are widely admired at any level. So this is what is expected of young people. Serving with dignity, with distinction.
That's beautiful.
People, yeah.
Do you have any contribution towards that?
Yeah, I think basically I think the students of the University of the Gambia are in any way divided. During political tension, sometimes it's understandable that there are a lot of rifts here and there. But even from the message that we have sent already, you will realize that we have told them that it's not about us, the executive. It's a union that it will be run by the views of the students. So the union will represent the entire interest of the student. There will be no discrimination as to the manner in which the union will be run, because over the years some schools are prioritized against over the others, and we want to bridge that gap. And that's why part of some of our policies is to make sure that we establish what they call the president due, whereby all student leaders across all faculties are going to be part of this institution, whereby they're going to make decisions together with the executive, and such will make students feel represented. And when it happens, therefore, the voices and the wishes of the students are going to be represented, and that will generally serve as a means of uniting all the students of the University of the Gambia. That we can definitely do. But to just answer the question in short time, I don't think the University of the Gambia students are actually in a way divided.
Okay, that's a beautiful. Now, you hear the voices of two young people who are vying for one of the key seats in the Student Council leadership. And I say this to you, in 1944, in Liberia, Africa's oldest republic, where I come from, the independence orator that day in 1944, Professor Toney, he says, no nation has been able to establish and maintain a strong government in the absence of what? Educated citizenry. To what extent does this statement resonate with you?
Well, thank you so much again for that beautiful question. And then that reminds me of the during the independent era and of course colonialism, because we've seen centuries ago nations have moved from colonialism to independence, and now many nations have took a new paradigm shift from independence to networking, so connection. And this shows that no nation can stand alone, and this cannot be done without education. There is this quotation that one of my professors will always say, that if our education cannot help us solve our problems, then that education is meaningless, unless and only it can help to solve our own problems and the problem of people in the society. This is the most important thing of education. Children are sent to school to learn and understand societies, to learn and understand issues that are working in society, and of course to be able to articulate and understand the problems that are in the society and provide solutions to those problems. This is one of the most quality thing about education, and the most important thing about education. And I believe this is why we are sent to school, to know the problems, to provide solutions to them, and to solve the problems of the people within the community.
Mr. Mendy, thank you very much for that very beautiful response. We've seen politicians at the top level ahead of elections, during campaign period, they come with nice flowery words to influence the voters, the electorate. At the end of the day, once they will have assumed the mantle of authority, they throw all of those promises aside. Now, coming back to your political movement, so to speak, calling yourself a solutionist, where does the confidence of the electorate lie in your movement?
The confidence of the electorate, I will not say so lie on our movement, so lie on the students themselves. That's why we told them throughout the campaign is that they should understand this fact that they owe the power, that they should decide and not us. So the power will still lie on them, and they should have the confidence on themselves that whatever they demand, we should be able to actually represent them to the extent that they expect us to represent them. So us, it's not about us. With our movement, it's not about us. It's about representing the student in the manner and at any time that they demand us to represent. But to a little bit touch on the question that you're asking, because I'm equally a Pan-African, and this is a Pan-African platform, and I think it's relevant that we examine what we call the African education system and so forth. And in fact, particularly the Gambia, we are a 54, quote-unquote, a 54-old nation. And if you examine the problems we're encountering right now, has our education system in any way contributed to solving them, or this problem are just here and the education system is able to solve them? What type of education system do we have? Do we inherit a system that has been designed by others to keep the status quo, or are we ready to revive it to make sure that it suits our agenda of Pan-African agenda, or an agenda that addresses the problem of Africa? This is also one thing that the University of the Gambia Students Union and the students in general should contribute into making happen. You understand that throughout African universities there are always movements there. Under this current executive, there are attempts by others to establish Pan-African movement within the university, but it failed. And I would take it up from there that having me in council as a Pan-Africanist will provide the avenue for all the Pan-Africans in the university. And there are a lot of them that I know that will have a movement in the university. So the knowledge of Pan-African also, because it's not being taught here in the university. The knowledge of Pan-African also will be taught, or students will have the avenue for them to sell their ideas when it comes to Pan-African, because we have the Chinese here, we have the Europeans come here, establish their centers, and they still have their culture around. So be rest assured that the idea of Pan-African, you come back here with your TV again. You welcome here, and you have Pan-African programs going on here. Where will the agenda of Africa will be represented very well.
That's beautiful. You get the conviction here from the Secretary General of this very movement, calling themselves the Solutionists, which is a very beautiful experience. Seeing young people taking the mantle of authority to be able to steer the affairs of the Student Council leadership in their own noble institution. I come back to you here. There has been a lot of assumption, possibly based on facts and logic, that African politics, African democracy has been infiltrated by Western civilization. What are practical or overwhelming factors do you think are responsible for Western infiltration in African democracy?
Okay, well, thank you so much for that beautiful question. Well, if you look at the political dynamic of Africa itself, you will definitely understand that we are not exposed to our own system. We've tried to adopt the Western system and our own culture. We are deviating our own culture totally. So I think if we want a new dam of leadership in Africa, we have to love our culture. We have to understand our society. We don't have to prioritize the Western culture. It is when you know your own problems, you can be able to solve your own problems. So long-term leadership also have affected Africa.
Okay.
We see African leaders serving for more than 20 years. And dictatorship also have take a deeper root in African politics. We don't want to give chance to young people. We don't want to give chance to people who are more competent. Partisanship also have taken root. So I think it is until and unless we give chance to young people who can steer the affairs of Africa, we will not be definitely, we will still be assembled as a continent, of course, as countries.
Mr. Fati, not to cut you, you say giving chance to young people, or I don't know to what extent does this actually work, because we have the Fore Iyadiman of Togo, which is a young man, but you see women run in the streets, stark naked and cry that we don't need you in the presidency. You have Ambassador George Opomane, we are the only African to have won the world best, who is now the current president of the Republic of Liberia, the oldest independent nation on the continent. And you see how the unstabilized the economy has been since his ascendancy to the presidency. To what extent can you say that young people must take the mantle of authority
yes,
to lead their respective
when I said
nations?
young people must take the mantle of leadership now, what I mean here is it has to go with competence.
Okay.
We cannot vote in people who are not competent.
Okay.
And we've seen now Africa has now taken a new paradigm shift.
Okay.
Everybody is now aiming at attending university education. And that is definitely changing the narratives in the African system.
Okay.
You look at Gambia, for instance, today you go to National Assembly, you see so many students, you see so many young people below 25 who are currently serving in the National Assembly.
Okay.
And they can debate rigorously well on issues that are going on. They are aware on issues that are going on.
Okay.
So good leadership also has to go with competence.
Okay.
You cannot be a good leader if you're not competent. And you must go through rigorous process. You know, in order to become a very good leader.
Okay.
Some people will say leaders are born. But for me, I have never seen any unborn leader.
Okay.
Leaders are born. But some leaders also are made.
Okay.
You have to attend rigorous training to become a good leader.
Okay. To develop the expertise.
To develop expertise.
Okay.
And then I think the administration of Barack Obama has contributed a lot in the young leadership of Africa, in young people.
Okay.
We always have
in what respect?
Yeah, we always have the Yali Fellowship.
Okay.
Young African Leadership Initiative. It is definitely helping so many people.
Okay.
There are so many students in this university who have attended that program.
Okay.
And now they're doing extremely well at both communal and national level. And this is definitely commendable.
Okay.
So I think if initiative like such is promoted in most of the continents in Africa, in most of the countries in Africa, we will have a very good emerging leaders that will steer the affairs of the country.
Okay. That's beautiful. Mr. Mendy, I'll come back to you here with the same question. What are the factors responsible for Western infiltration in African democracy? Why do you think you find it very easier to bump into our system and influence and manipulate us to their own advantage?
Before answering that, let me just disagree with Mr. President that the Yali Fellow or Barack Obama contributing towards African building up leaders in Africa is one factor, in fact, that through which the Western countries infiltrate African leadership. Because for me, they more or less groom these people as little Frenchmen who come back better and behave like white or like our colonial masters used to behave with us. The thoughts that they inculcate in the minds of these Yali fellows are purely Western culture, Western ideologies, Western
pattern, or so to speak.
So forth, and nothing that has to do with the realities of African politics and the ground on Africa. So the like of Barack Obama, no Western country, let me just be specific, likes the progress of Africa. And all these aids, all these international movements and so forth that have the pretext of helping Africa are actually doing so for their own interests.
What do we do to change such negative narrative?
Well, we should, by first tackling our education system, build up education system that addressed our problem. And you may note from the much inconsistent character of the Europeans. Anytime they want anything from Africa, they push it so hard that they use us, the people, to do away with our leaders, some of our very genuine leaders. In the 60s, democracy to the Europeans towards Africa was multi-party. That was the only definition of democracy. That you have to have multi-parties to be democratic. The lack of Nkrumah in the latter days were totally called or labeled as dictators and so forth. We all have to do flush them away. Gaddafi survived the same fate. Thomas Sankara the same fate. Lumumba the same fate. And right now, the most talk about individual here is Paul Kagame. Now they want to do away with him because his ideology, his strength of leadership doesn't resonate with the West. This is biological weapon they use, whether we accept or not, this is a reality. Fourth, let me say, our economy. They still divide us as nations, and we are not still cognizant of the fact that we need to be united in order to strengthen our economy as an African, and that the West depend on us, and not we are not the one who depend on them. So these are all factors that we need to understand for us to really push up the Pan-African agenda, have a united Africa that can address the problem of Africans. No political understanding.
That's a very beautiful point. No wonder St. Thomas Aquinas in philosophy says that the height of a man is not from the head to the toe, but from the neck to the head, which means your intelligent quotient determines how tall you are, how short you are. You're listening to two young people with very huge heads on their shoulders in terms of reasoning. I come to you here, that puts it very funnily. Considering the Gambia, Guinea-Conakry, or Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Freetown, Sierra Leone, and Senegal, if the leaders of these countries were like students in a particular classroom, which of these leaders do you think should serve as the valedictorian in that very school, and which one should come last?
Well, if I will definitely choose, it might probably be very difficult for me because I cannot say they're all competent.
We talk about in terms of results
in
now.
Terms of results. I think one can give credit to Senegal. Senegal's Macky Sall.
Why Macky Sall?
Yeah, Macky Sall is such a visionary leader. He has the expertise, knowledge, and he's been working with administrators. And he's been working with Abdoulaye Wade when he was serving as a ministerial post, in one of the ministerial posts. So I think that gave him an edge over his colleagues right now in Africa. Particularly within sub-Saharan African region.
I specify that between the certain leaders that's around here, not the entire continent. We'll talk about Senegal, we'll talk about the Gambia, Liberia, Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau. These leaders, which one should be the valedictorian in terms of performance?
Yeah, if you look at the progress Macky has made in just within 7 years, you cannot compare to Gambia or Guinea-Bissau or to some other countries. Yeah, so I think that will make him have an edge over them right now. Yeah, because we've seen some of the progress Macky Sall have made.
So who do you think is taking last position in that platform?
Well, that was very difficult for me, but I think I can say Guinea-Bissau. Guinea-Bissau, yeah, for sure.
Why Guinea-Bissau? Mr. Mendy, what's your own
assessment?
Assessment of that.
Maybe you look at the presidents of, if you're going to look at the general leaders.
I am looking at the presidents of these countries, Liberia, Freetown, Sierra Leone, or Julius Maada Bio, your own Gambia here, Mr. Adam Barrow, as he prefers to be called, the Macky Sall of Senegal, Guinea-Bissau as well.
I'll rule Guinea-Bissau out of the list because
he just brand new.
Yes. General Mbalo is just recently elected. He have not even spent a month yet since he was inaugurated. I would definitely have to give it to Madabio, Brigadier Madabio, knowing one time that he was a soldier and taking from his track record, an individual who was once in the army, did a coup with his seniors, successful coup. They promised to stay for six months. When the 6 months reached, he asked them to go back to the barracks. They failed to do so. He conducted a coup, promised the nation that in 4 months he is going to leave, and he did so. In 4 months he left, went back to do his studies. Back from his studies, now he came back and win again the trust of the people. And actually the progress and the stability of Sierra Leone compared to how it was and right now under Madabio, I will actually give it to him. Macky Sall, I will not give it to him because Macky Sall already found a well-established, a well-structured system, which he was already part of by Abdullah Wade.
Yeah.
And right now, what Macky did, Macky has some dictatorial tendencies in him. Actually, he jailed all advocates that are against him. He jailed even opposition leaders, Sall, he jailed all of them, Sall rather. So whoever served as a threat to him.
Your point is an inside opposite of what your president is saying here.
He's a debater too.
No, not a debater, because I actually follow them.
Okay.
But I don't like the fact that he's a little Frenchman.
Okay.
I would, even in Senegal, I would have preferred Ousmane Sonko.
Why should you want to be described as a little Frenchman? Do you think he dances to the tune of the French government?
He did, and we should also have some historical perspective about Senegal and the French.
Okay.
That Senegal was the administrative seat or capital of foreign France during the colonial era, and that tide is still there. Senegal still have its reserve treasures in France. France still dictates even the political landscape in Senegal. That's why Ousmane Sonko is still a threat to the French, because he is coming with a radical pan-African ideology that doesn't resonate with them. And Macky is prepared to serve the interests of the French people by jailing, by putting Sonko into prison. So don't be surprised by before his terms and he puts Sonko in prison. So I don't buy Macky's style of leadership, and I'm not into him at all. Okay,
that's a very beautiful one from Mr. Mendy and Kemofate here on the conversation that comes with on Senbian's VIP magazine, VIP TV. I put this to you right now. You are given an opportunity to give just 2 sentences in terms of expertise to Adama Barrow, and second, 1 sentence for Adama Barrow in terms of leadership, and 1 for the rest of the leaders on the continent of Africa. What would you say to Adama Barrow?
Well, for Adama Barrow, I think
just 1 sentence.
Understanding matters a lot in leadership. This is why initially I said leaders need to go on the rigorous process for them to understand administrative skills. Barrow has brought a very beautiful idea called the National Development Plan, but it has failed woefully. The promises that they've made to us 3 years back have not been achieved. The president in his own voice will say, I will resign after 3 years. And that has created serious brouhaha and political mayhem in the university, in the Gambia.
Which 1 sentence do you have for Adama Barrow?
I think Barrow needs to work on these development agendas very, very well in order to win the trust and confidence of the people again in 2021.
To the rest of the African leaders, what do you say to them in 1 sentence?
To the rest of the African leaders, I would say we definitely need to understand our own environment. We definitely need to love our culture. And of course, we definitely have gifts. We should definitely give chance to others to lead. Because as one of my great leaders will always say, that Barack Obama said, African leaders always said, I am the best leader. When he said, if you refer to yourself as the best leader, then you are already failed to groom and mold the people who should replace you. And this is what the African leaders always say.
That's beautiful. What do you have to say? 1 sentence to President Adama Barrow right now.
Mr. President, you need improvement, I would say that.
To the rest of the African leaders?
You are not leaders. They are not leaders. So I will just tell them, you are not leaders. To cut it short, they are not leaders.
They are not leaders.
Except few. Paul Magufuli will inspire me in a little bit.
John Pombe Magufuli of Tanzania.
Tanzania, we have a little bit. I actually see leaders outside presidency in Africa. That's my own perception. I don't see leaders currently, like those presidents. That's why when you say leaders, I was asking whether you referring to presidents. Because I would have taken even Bobi Wine of Uganda to be my leader. I would have taken Julius Malema to be a leader. I would have taken Sonko here to be a leader. Then Madabio or Adama Barrow and Shefford. So for me, they are not leaders, really. The leaders are outside the box.
Well, that's the voice of Mr. Mendy. He says that Africans have not had a leader at all. They should not call themselves leaders. I don't know if they should be called misleaders, in fact. Don't answer that. That's the voice of our presidential candidate here too, Mr. Fati. It's been a very beautiful experience here on Senbian's VIP magazine, VIP TV, in the Republic of the Gambia. This is Thony Mikel Howard. What do you have to say to the electorates for the forthcoming election in very few words?
Yes, thank you so much for that beautiful question. And of course, I want to thank our strong supporters, and of course, all my running mates in the team solutions. And of course, I thank the authority of the University of the Gambia, of course, the student leadership, the current leadership of the UTT, under Mr. Ibrahim El-Damfa, the 18th Executive Council.
Okay.
Well, I believe the policy or the politics of lip service has now ended in UTG. Last year we've witnessed a situation where 80% of University of the Gambia students have given their loyalty and vote to a particular camp, that is Team Alliance.
Okay.
This year I emerged with the team or Team Solution,
okay,
with a very, very competent men and women
okay,
who are believed to understand the problems of the University of the Gambia,
okay,
and of course can salvage the student leadership of UTG.
Okay.
So we've been going from class to class, and they definitely we've been receiving so many positive feedback from students,
okay,
that they love our idea, they love our policies, and they believe in us that if we are put in office, we would definitely serve the purpose.
Okay.
This is the agenda that my team stand on,
okay,
and inshallah we will change the student leadership of the University of the Gambia. We will be there to represent the students, and we will definitely represent their power as well.
One final question for both of you, and before I take leave of you. We had great African leaders that fought for the liberation of this continent. The likes of Amilcar Cabral of Guinea-Bissau, the William Vakana Shabra Tubman of Liberia, the Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, of course, the Nelson Mandela, and the Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, the Dr. Nandi Azikiwe of Nigeria. These people fought, the late Sadauda Karabajara, these people fought for the liberation of this continent. In 1963, they all sat in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and spoke about the need for African unity. Too many years after that, do you think and you want to believe that these people are crying in the graves, that the current generation of young Africans have done nothing to be able to catalyze that very dream? Or do you think they should smile in their graves that we've done our level best to catalyze that peaceful coexistence that they thought of or they philosophized years back?
Sadauda was shocked and very, very appalled and sad with the current leadership of the Gambia before he died.
Okay.
Because he believed that Gambia doesn't deserve such a leader. Gambia must not live in a dictatorial region. From 1986 towards 1992, Gambia was one of the we had one of the highest GDP growth in Southern Africa.
Okay.
84% of our growth were all from the Gambia.
Okay.
The farming system was very, very beautiful. The agricultural system was very beautiful. Tourism was also booming.
Okay.
This was under Sadauda's leadership.
Okay.
Then I could remember I used to read one of the books in the university.
Okay.
Kwame Nkrumah used to refer to him as the British boy, because they believe he is very, very close to the British, and
to the point
that way they think anything that they tell him, he always accepts.
Okay.
But we also saw we've also witnessed that most of our Gambians, attended training in most of the British universities. From 1986 towards 1992, we received students from Liberia, Guinea-Bissau, Senegal, to come and learn administrative skills in Gambia.
Okay.
This is because we used to have an expertise who understand administration, they understand governance, stuff like that.
Okay.
So these were all under Sadauda's regime. So that Sadauda was quite very, very unhappy when Gambia witnessed a dictatorship.
Okay. On the broad continental level,
very good.
To what extent has the current generation of African leaders catalyzed the dreams and aspirations of previous leaders that fought for the liberation of this continent?
Well, I think we still have a long way to go.
Okay.
But I am still very optimistic with the possibility of young people of this continent. We can definitely change the narrative.
Mr. Mendy, do you strongly believe that the current generation of African leaders have fought harder to have catalyzed the dreams and aspirations of our previous leaders who fought for the liberation of this continent? Do you think we tried?
We have not tried. That's why even Cabral will say Kwame Nkrumah died through cancer of betrayal. So it's not about him now turning in his grave. He have already cried when he was alive. And he took that pain with him to the grave. It's evident that Nelson Mandela was disappointed with the type of leadership that was going on with Zuma. Before he even dies. It's evident that even Thomas Sankara, having his own close friend, Paul Biya,
Blaise Compaoré.
Blaise Compaoré, rather, have him killed and so forth. The list is so sad to follow. But the reality is that there is so much interference, external force in African politics and setup. Equally, Africans are not giving up. It's evident that Africans are not giving up. That's why the like of every century you hear the like of Julius Malema will rise up, the like of Bobby Wine. We have Pan-Africans who will rise up at one point in time to make us realize that Abdel Nasser of Egypt, Lumumba, all these people that were termed as valiant by the West, these are actually the type of leaders that Africans need. That spirit of Pan-Africanism is in us, and the world will be surprised and they will be taken by storm if they think that the youthful generation of Africa are not aware of the tricks that the world is playing on Africa. We are disappointed with the current leadership because they are not satisfying the agenda of the founding fathers of this continent. We are disappointed with this current leadership. But one thing I can promise you is that this generation of African youth will actually do a different thing. I can promise from on my own. I'll promise that.
I love the confidence in your tune. That's a very beautiful one, Mr. Presidential Candidate. What are your plans for the students of this institution after you will have won the elections?
Well, thank you so much for that beautiful question once again. Well, we've already made a consultation. I could remember I visited so many deans and students regarding their problems in various faculties. Like I said, my experience in student leadership has always been a work in progress for me. Now, top in my agenda, we are providing financial loan for the first time in the history of UTG. There is an entrance clause in the University of the Gambia Student Union Constitution, which states that the union should expand support and provide humanitarian assistance to needy students. So therefore, in our quest to respecting and implementing this fundamental clause as proposed in the Constitution, we're going to create an account called the University of the Gambia Trust Fund account. Now, in this trust fund account, we are targeting to sponsor students who could not pay their tuition fee themselves, and students who keep deferring their semesters. Because for us, university education is not a privilege, but it's a right that each and every bona fide citizen, and even non-citizen, should enjoy. And that right should be respected. This is why we feel sorry for these students, you know, without getting access to university education. But we believe still, as student leaders, we can still help them. We still have some fund. We can start to expand our relationship, our partnership with donors, so we can tap more funds for these discontinued students, so they can also join us in the university. Now, another clause again in the Constitution which states that the president, that is section 11, subsection 5, that the president of the union should represent the student union at the alumni association. You'll be very, very unhappy to know that since inception of the university, there hasn't been any effective alumni association. And because we all know now, most of the world universities have been run or managed by their alumni. You see, we call them former students or ex-students. But this is a different case in the Gambia. We don't have an effective alumni association. So if we are voted in office, we shall make sure that we have well structured
to give a vigor to that.
Very good. We want to understand the dynamic, the reason why it has been failing, the reason why it has not been effective. If we get the root cause of that, then we establish an effective alumni association for the university students.